Welcome to the London Horror Movie Club. I'm horror writer Lauren Jane Barnett.
And I'm Chris Sapikowski, Lauren's older brother, and I've been watching horror movies since I was 8.
Join us as we talk about the wild, weird, and wonderful horror films set in England's eerie capital.
Welcome back, horror fans. We're kicking off 2026 with a guest that has probably literally done it all. Originally trained as a mime under the same tutor as David Bowie and Kate Bush, he was one of Jabba's bounty hunters and a calamari officer in Return of the Jedi, a mind and body-bending alien in Xtro, one of my favorites, half of the robotic mime duo Tick and Tock, who toured with Gary Numan as also part of the New Romantics. He was in Shock, which is a mime burlesque music troupe. And that's all before we even get into his award-winning photography, his iconic advertisements, his surreal and amazing writing, and his recent role as son of Nosferatu. So welcome, Tim Dry.
Well, hello, all you watching millions.
One day.
One day.
Love that optimism. So I know this all started for you with mime. Would you tell us a little bit about how you started and why you started that way?
Okay, I left school. I hated school. I was a bit naughty. I got thrown out because I was disruptive, and I knew I had to go to art school, and I wanted to study graphic design. And so you do a foundation course in England where you learn a little bit of everything, and then you start a 3-year graphic design course. And I ended up sort of designing packets for cheese or stupid things. And I thought, you know what, I should have done fine art. Because I used to walk past the fine art hut and there were guys in, hair and duffel coats chucking paint at canvases and tearing up bits of newspaper and making political statements. And I thought, here I am designing cheese packets. So I left and I became a bit of a hippie. I moved into Brighton down on the south coast of England, and I indulged myself in various exploratory substances, shall we say. And then I had a good friend who I was at school with. He said, I've just seen David Bowie. He's got a new band, and they're the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And I had to move back home for various reasons. And I saw that David Bowie and the Spiders from Mars were playing in a town 5 miles away from where I was still living with my mum and dad. And I went to see David Bowie, and I just thought, well, this is like the heavens have opened and an angel's come down and he's shown me what a performer could really be if he was totally in control of his body, his face, his voice, his everything. And it changed my life, literally. I came away from that concert and thought, wow, nothing's ever going to be the same again, And it was 4 years later, I learned that he trained in mime with a guy called Lindsay Kemp. And I'd been to see a couple of Lindsay's shows. They're very theatrical, very camp, darling, It's sort of a mixture of dance and mime. But I was intrigued. I've never seen anything. I never liked ballet. I always thought ballet was a bit, and modern dance now. But what Lindsay was doing was combining sort of a kind of decadent form of theatre with extreme physical movement. And so I went to some of his classes. And there was one day, this was in a church hall in Fulham, which is in West London. And there was this gorgeous brunette who was sort of limbering up in the corner, wearing a leotard. And gosh, she's beautiful. She looks like a young Liz Taylor or something. And it was only about 7 months later, I realized, oh, that's Kate Bush.
Wow.
Who was the kind of female David Bowie for me. Anyway, so I trained in physical mime with a guy called Desmond Jones, who was the only teacher I've ever had in my life who I really respected and worshipped and therefore learnt from,
Yeah.
And in 1980, I formed a little robotic mime duo with another mime called Sean Crawford. And we called ourselves Tick and Tock because we wanted a name that suggested some kind of movement, you know. And we used to have a residency at this cocktail bar called Coconut Grove in West London. And we were there one night doing our 20-minute robot act. And afterwards, these two guys said, hey, you know, come and have a chat. You know, we're putting a film together. Really like you guys to be in it, you know. So we said, okay, what's it about? He said, well, one of them said, or both of them said, it's about an alien who comes to Earth and does bad things. And, you know, would you guys like to be in it? And we said, yes, absolutely. Because actually, I just jumped too far ahead. Sorry. We actually did Return of the Jedi 4 weeks before that. Because of our mime tutor, Desmond Jones. He phoned us up and said, look, they're looking for mime artists for the new Star Wars movie. I want you and Sean and 15 others to come along to my school on a Saturday to audition in front of the producer, Robert Watts. So we did. And Desmond said, okay, guys, just do some alien acting, you know, okay. Whatever. And about a week later, we got the call saying you got the job, you know. So we did 4 weeks on Return of the Jedi, which was fantastic. Extraordinary experience, you know, major Hollywood movie. And then we're back to doing our little cabaret act at Coconut Grove. And that's when we met these two guys who said, do you want to be in this movie? And it was called The Reaper back then. It wasn't called Xtro. And they said, okay, we'd like Tim, for you to play an action man who comes to life and murders an old woman. Thought, okay, it's a dirty job. Someone's got to do it, you know. And Sean, we'd like you to be the actual alien creature, you know. So I stupidly said, what about if the alien creature was a guy in a rubber suit, but crawling backwards on his hands and knees, but with the head on the wrong way round? And they said, oh, that's brilliant. So I thought, yeah, okay. And then a few days later, they said, actually, Tim, we want you to be the alien now, and Sean to be the action man who comes to life and murders an old lady. Damn. You know, I thought I got away with it. But anyway, so I had to go and have my whole body cast in plaster, which is, well, for anyone, it's not a very pleasant experience because it goes off really quickly. It gets very hot and then it gets really solid. And I had to be cast in this crab position, you know, and the two girls who were applying all the plaster and bandages said, once they got the head on, they said, okay, Tim, we're going for lunch now. We'll be back in about an hour. No, I can't move. I can't talk. And they said, we're just joshing with you. Great. Thanks a lot. And so they had to cast my body in two halves to join them together. And there's always going to be a few stray pubes stuck in the plaster, which is kind of, thank you. Anyway, so they made this ghastly rubber suit, skin tight rubber suit, which fitted perfectly, obviously. And then they said, okay, we're going to be filming in the woods in Buckinghamshire, which is north of London. It's sort of nowheresville, really, in March all night. And the thing about a skin tight rubber suit is you either get really hot or you get really cold, and there's no health and safety around, you know. So I spent 3 or 4 nights sort of crawling around, not looking where I'm going in this skin tight rubber suit, you know. So that's how I got the job. Anyway, it was all because of my mime training, not because of you know, a script. I don't think we ever saw a script, actually.
No way.
Is there a script? No, of course not. Yeah, we'll just make it up. Hey, let's get a Black Panther in. Brilliant. What about a midget clown? Yes, like that. It was so, having done Return of the Jedi, which was major, you know, to this, where everyone's obviously doing a bit of um, not knowing what the hell they were doing, but it's actually ended up being quite a fun movie. I see it as a Xtro as being a bit of a comedy. You know, it's not, you can't take it seriously, can you? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm terrified by that giving birth scene to this day.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
not comedy for me.
that was well, of course I couldn't see what I'm doing because my head's on backwards, you know. So I'm actually impregnating this poor innocent girl. Well, actually, you know what? If you live in an isolated cottage and you hear a strange sound late at night, you don't open the front door and go, hello, hello, is there anyone there? And the dog runs out. Oh, Sandy, come back, or whatever his name was, you know. Dog comes back and door shuts. And the next thing is I'm under the table and I impregnate her, you know. It's a dirty job, but I guess I had to do it, you know. So,
this is what happens with the lack of writers. They're like, just open the door. It's the middle of the night. You're good.
yeah, I mean, it's got to be common advice, hasn't it? You know, why would you live in an isolated cottage and hear something strange? And your first thought is, open the door. Let's have a look. It's night. You're not going to see anything. Anyway, so that was the experience of Xtro. But the worst bit for me was doing the underwater scene, which was a last minute adjunct to it. They said, okay, Tim, we want to do one scene. You just got to wear the head. You don't have to wear the rest of the outfit, but you've got to go under the water and then emerge majestically or sinisterly. And it was horrible because they dug this sort of pit in the middle of the woods in Buckinghamshire filled with horrible, mucky water, you know, woody stuff. And I had to go under the water with this head on. And of course, as soon as I went under the water, all the water comes in through the eyes and the nostrils. And you're thinking, oh, God, this is horrible. And you could just about make out the director saying, okay, Tim, action. What? Tim, action. Oh, so I rose up majestically, I thought. And they said, that's great. We're just going to do one more for safety. And I said, no, you're not. That's it. I'm done. You know, there was no health and safety around. You know, but the horrible thing was all the crew were wearing sort of big puffer jackets and go, bit parky, isn't it? Yeah, I'm in a rubber suit, you bastard. Anyway, so that's my strange Xtro story. But
Love it.
That movie, Xtro, is definitely one that I had never heard of or anything. We were doing our podcast, and when we started, we were doing a lot of reviews of movies, and Lauren actually recommended, let's watch Xtro, and she didn't tell me anything about it, anything. So I'm sitting there, and I think I even because I was watching it, you know, 9 o'clock at night here in America, so
yeah,
2 o'clock in the morning. I can't really reach out to her. The next day, I was like, "What did you have me watch?" But I ended up really loving it.
so
but
what,
it definitely
what did you
opened my
actually think
eyes
of
to
it?
a different world.
Yeah, not a world you want to actually be looking at. So what did you make of it when you first saw it, or the only time you've seen it?
Well, I actually watched it twice now.
Oh,
yeah.
oh
No,
dear.
I enjoyed it, but I
love
will
it.
say the birth scene was definitely very crazy. But it also just to me felt like it was the I guess I associate that time
Yeah,
and British film, like British horror film, like that was like the perfect, like that's what I associate with it. Like just the craziness, it's just things that I hadn't seen before, obviously.
yeah,
Because everything in America was like it's just like crazy guy Woods stabs people,
yeah.
cool different kills, and this was with the alien and stuff, so it was good. I enjoy it. I've seen it twice.
It's strange because you know back in the early 80s, 82, 83, they created a list of video nasties in England. Things like I Spit on Your Grave, or you know, Cannibal Holocaust, or you know, terrible monkeys doing nasty things. No, actually there wasn't one, was it? Anyway, but they tried to make a list of video nasties that could be banned. You couldn't be shown. And sort of Xtro kind of edged its way onto the list. Then they said, no, it's all right. It's sort of not heavy enough, you know. But
Wow.
No one saw it. I mean, Sean and I and the other cast members went to see a screening of it. And what we hated most was the terrible music that the director, Harry Bromley Davenport, had created. It was so cheesy, sort of, I've just got a synthesizer and I'm going to make some music for a horror movie. Look at it. And it was like, oh, really? I mean, we did think that some of it was just so out there. It was actually quite amusing. But then it disappeared. You couldn't buy it. You couldn't see it anywhere. And I think it came out on, I think I got a DVD given to me in Holland at a Star Wars convention about 15 years later. It never came out on DVD, you know. Now, of course, they're doing a big Arrow 4K restoration of it. And but it was one of those movies that it sort of was just dismissed. It came out and then it went, you know. So we thought, well, I'm glad we did that. Not really, but you know, it's something to put on your CV, isn't it?
Right.
And it was, I can't remember when the first DVD came out, but it was in Germany, I think. They seemed to like it quite a lot.
That tracks. That tracks.
Yeah.
Weird.
Do you think that if it had made the list of video nasties that they came out with, you said it kind of was about to be on, but then it didn't really make it. Do you think if it had made the list, it would have had a bigger following initially?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't.
That almost seems like a checklist of films that I would want to watch. You know, like if I hadn't seen them, I'd be like, yep, I want to watch that one and that one. And
yeah, I think people thought, well, it didn't really make the list, so we'll forget it, you know. But one thing that has made me laugh in recent years is that some guy somewhere in the States has taken one shot of me as the creature emerging onto the side of a road, and there's a car coming, and they've just made it into a sort of grainy black and white little clip of just me crawling out. And they've said, look, we've seen this in New Mexico. It's a skinwalker. They're real. And apparently thousands of people have said, my God, that's horrible. Oh, they're there in Albuquerque or wherever. And I thought, no, come on, that's just one little clip from Xtro. They've made it into a sort of, you know, like a CCTV black and white job, you know. That makes me laugh. So
you're telling me skinwalkers aren't real? Like you're breaking news to me right here, but this is just I need to reevaluate my entire National Enquirer world of the news, you know.
Yeah, it's all my fault. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I have to say, it doesn't sound like it was necessarily, well, although a good experience, it wasn't necessarily something that would make you go, oh, I can't wait to act again. And then you did loads of acting. So what was it that you were already doing, Tick and Tock, or what?
Well, yeah, but Tick and Tock was two guys doing robotic movement, and we did a lot of TV shows, and we made records as well. I wrote the music and we recorded them. We had a top 70 single in England. And I just thought, well, this is more what I want to do. I don't particularly want to be a rubber-suited alien for the rest of my life, you know. I mean, I do know guys that have just done that. You know, there's many of them, actually. And bless them, you know, they work all the time. But come on, you know, you reach a certain age, you think, that's not going to happen anymore, you know. So I was quite happy to do a lot of work as a mime artist and then try to move into conventional acting as a kind of character actor. I mean, with a face like this, it's not going to be leading man, it's going to be character, isn't it? You know. And so I did things like English TV shows like Father Ted and Casualty and EastEnders and all that sort of stuff, you know. So it was just an interesting blip on a strange journey that hasn't quite ended yet, you know.
I mean, you can stem this all back from watching David Bowie. I mean, Bowie kind of gave you no, but he gave you that, like, changed your mind to think a different way.
The thing is, both Bowie and myself were born in suburban Surrey in England, which is like, if that's London there, we're born down there somewhere. So you're always looking to London as to be where I've got to be to do something, And so he did it. And he was, bless him, 5 years older than me. So he got into London in '64, and I was 12, so he would have been 17 or something. And he used to hang out in Soho and try to get a record deal, and, meeting all the people like Pete Townsend, Jimmy Page, and trying desperately to make it, I remember one interview, he said, well, the thing about being born in suburbia is you spend your whole life trying to get rid of the chains, because you're drawn back into suburban England, which is, it's not anywhere. It's not London, and it's not pastoral. It's sort of, it wants to be something, but it isn't, And so that endeared me to him. I thought, oh, he was born in Bromley, which is a suburb of London, and I was born in Surrey, which is a suburb of London. So there was sort of local boy made good kind of vibe about David. But also the town I was born in is called Red Hill, and there's a website that says famous people from Red Hill, and yes, I am in there, which is interesting, but also Rat Scabies from The Damned. Do you remember The Damned?
Yeah,
punk band?
punk band.
A guy called Dave Fenton, who had a band called The Vapors, who had a one hit with Turning Japanese.
Oh, I do know Turning Japanese.
I know that song. Yeah.
And the original organist of Status Quo, a guy called Roy Lyons, who actually got sacked after they'd had a first hit, But probably the most famous residents of Red Hill were Alistair Crowley, who lived when he was a very young boy in a house almost opposite the house that I was born in. Uh-huh. And the other one is the great train robber, Ronnie Biggs.
Nice.
Well, good job, man. Not, but it's one of those towns where you've either got to get out or you're just going to be doomed to stay there forever. Mm. And it was seeing Bowie that made me think, I've got to get out now for good. I've got to go to London. There's no two ways about it,
Well,
How was your I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Were your parents super supportive in, like, did you have a lot of support from your family in going about, like, when you tell your dad, I can only imagine me telling my dad I'm going to go study mime, and what his reaction would be. Did you have that support? Were they were they artistic?
No, they were very supportive of me wanting to go to art school, because art was the one thing I was actually good at, well, and English and English lit. So I went to art school, I did 2 years there, and then I said, you know what, I'm leaving. So there was a kind of, bollocks, excuse me. You bleep that bit if you like.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay.
Much worse has been said on the show.
Right. No, but I think they thought, oh, well, that was the one thing you were good at, so why are you leaving it, But then they both said, well, look, you've got to do what you feel is best for you. So in that respect, they were supportive. But to be honest, it was only when I got on TV as a mime artist that it all suddenly made sense. Because Sean and I, as Tick and Tock in 1983, we were invited to be guests on the Royal Variety performance, which was an annual thing that we had, I think we probably still have in England, where various artists are asked to perform in front of the Queen then, and Philip and all the others. And we were invited on to do our robotic dance routine in 1983. So 14 million people saw me and Sean doing this act. And that's when Dad finally thought, you know what, fuck it, he's right.
That's so cool. Did you, looking back at all the stuff you've done? Because I mean, yeah, I know you've loved all of it in different ways, but you've done television, you've done advertisements, you've done movies, you've done lots of music, you've done mime. Do you have a favorite?
Well, out of all of them,
Yeah, of the performing things, not like writing but yeah.
no, I enjoyed very much performing on stage as a mime artist. When we supported Gary Numan on a 7-week tour of the UK, I think that was probably the best and most enjoyable live event I've ever done. In terms of acting, I've never really felt that comfortable about it. I've never really felt like a proper actor. I wasn't trained as an actor, so whatever I did, I picked up from watching other people. But no, I think you see, writing is a very solitary thing, as you know. You don't need someone else to do it.
Yeah.
You obviously need someone else to publish it, but you don't need someone else to sort of co-create it with you. Making music, I've made some good music with a couple of other musicians, which I'm very pleased about. But I think you move on. My performing career probably ended around the end of the 90s. And then I moved into wanting to just make music for myself and then start writing and to see what happens with that, So I'm glad I did what I did. I do know contemporaries of mine who are still either teaching or still performing as physical theatre or clowns or mimes or whatever. But I have a low boredom threshold. I think if you do something enough, it's like, okay, I've done that. I don't want to keep on doing that. It'd be awful to be a 74-year-old mime artist, wouldn't it? It's like, oh God. No, it's a horrifying thought. Anyway, so what?
I don't see any of them. That might be something you have to market.
What haven't you seen?
Well, not like I don't see a ton of mimes, but you can still mime at 74 or 80 or whatever.
Oh, I could, yeah, but I don't want to.
No, that makes sense. Keep this corner of the market is all I'm thinking.
No, I did it. I know that I joined a mime company formed by my mime tutor, Desmond Jones, in 1977. And we did a lot of shows in central London. And there was one show we did at the Arts Theatre Club. And Marcel Marceau came to see us. I mean, Marceau is like the sort of, second coming of mimes, if you like. Mime wouldn't exist as a popular art form if it wasn't for Marcel Marceau. But Desmond, who taught me, was taught by the man who taught Marcel Marceau. So Marceau coming to see us doing our little show, and he came backstage and he said, it's very good. I like it very much. And he actually spoke. It's like, wow, okay. Cool. It didn't go on. But so that was the kind of seal of approval, if you like, for mime. Because up until I started studying mime, I didn't know anything about it. I don't think many people did. It was this weird, it wasn't dance, it wasn't theatre. It was some strange thing that very few people had seen. They'd seen Marcel, chasing a balloon or something, but that was it. No one else was doing it, And then suddenly in the late 70s, a guy called Joseph Seelig started to run the International Mime School, Mime Festival, in London at a theatre. So he'd get in mime artists from different countries like Brazil or France or Italy or Spain and England, obviously, to do their bits to show to people that mime is an international art form. It's not just some esoteric kind of, colloquial kind of thing. So, and that opened it up. I mean, that is still going, the London Mime Festival. So I got to know a lot of fellow mime artists, and it was very exciting because when we first used to get together we do our class and then we go to the pub in Covent Garden when Covent Garden was still Covent Garden. It wasn't, you know, a kind of rich person's theme park. Oops.
Like most of London.
Yes, King's Road, Portobello, don't go there. Anyway, but you know, we talk about mime. I imagined it was like being a pre-Raphaelite painter in Victorian days. You know, no one knew what you were doing, but you know, Rossetti and Burne-Jones, and they'd all hang out in taverns and talk about the history, the antiquity, the mysticism of art and what it should be. It's not to do with classical painting, it's to do with emotion. And I thought, wow, this is what mime is like, actually. We're talking about something that no one knows anything about, you know? Very interesting.
That's incredible.
You have to stop me if I talk too much.
No, we're loving
No,
it. That's the thing.
yeah.
Are you?
Right. Yeah.
I think poor old Chris is thinking, oh, God.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I like, I don't know enough about mime to make it you know, but
You
to
will
make
by the end of this, mate.
there you go, to make an educational guess. But no,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Well,
I
you
am
know,
curious. You do do a lot of do you do Star Wars conventions? I mean,
Yeah.
you're in Return of the Jedi. What do you think of those?
I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, here's the weird thing. We did Return of the Jedi in 1982, right? So after 1982, I did Xtro and all the other stuff, and you get on with your rest of your life. You know, I got married, I got divorced, I got boom, boom, boom. And then suddenly in 2003, some guy managed to contact me and said, look, do you want to sign some pictures of you in Star Wars and make some money? And I said, well, what do you mean? There aren't any. He said, yeah, no, you've actually got a character name now. You're Jay Quill, the Whippet, who was one of Jabba the Hutt bad boys. And you were a Mon Calamari officer. So we met this guy in a pub in Notting Hill, and he had a rucksack with posters and 10 by 8 pictures. And, you know, we signed them. I think Sean and I came away with about 80 quid each. We thought, bloody hell, this is great. And then the guy said, oh, do you ever do conventions? And I said, well, conventions. I'm thinking of suited businessmen going, oh, yes, well, this is a plan for 2000 and whatever. No, Star Wars autograph conventions. What? Yeah, they're everywhere. So he said, look, there's a guy called Jason. No, I mustn't mention his name. Anyway, Jason blah, blah. He's got a show in Basildon next April. I'll contact him and ask him if he'd like you guys to come along. And we did. And this guy paid us 200 quid each. Wow. What, just to turn up and sign a few pictures? Yeah, this is brilliant. And then, because we met people like lovely Jeremy, bless him, Jeremy Bullock, you know, R.I.P., Dave Prowse, R.I.P., and all the others, and they all said, yeah, well, there's shows going on in Japan and France and Italy and stuff. Because we had no knowledge of this. This was like, you know, 82, 92, yeah, 20 something years later, suddenly we've been tapped into this convention circuit where you get paid to turn up in a foreign country with your hotel and flight and everything, and people pay you to sign pictures of yourself as a big furry alien. So what is not to like? You know, and it just happened all of a sudden. It's like a word of mouth thing. Once you do one, then somebody says, oh, get those guys in. Because we were kind of new kids on the block back then. The problem now is that there's so many offshoots of Star Wars. You know, there's Rogue One, there's Solo, there's whatever, you know. There's hundreds of people out there all signing away like mad. So we've got shunted down the survivors. Because the sad thing is that a lot of the original cast members have pegged it. You know, they've moved on to another galaxy, you know. But it's different now. It's not like it was back in the mid 2000s when we were going to America and Tokyo and this, that, and the other. So it's, but that whole thing about suddenly being asked or being paid to go somewhere to sign pictures of yourself in a movie that you did 25 years ago was totally fucking weird. Oops, totally weird. Sorry.
You're fine.
But yeah, I love it. I mean, I love meeting the fans. And okay, they always ask the same sort of questions, you know. Was it hot in the costume? Yes. Is it you in the costume? That's a weird one. No, it's not me at all. I'm just here as an imposter. But
doing a favor for a friend.
But what I love about it is that you get three generations now. You get the dad, who's probably my age or a little bit younger, and his son, who's probably he's probably in his 40s or something. He's got his son, and they all love the original trilogy. And most people say, so Tim, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? And I always say, well, it's got to be The Empire Strikes Back, because it was darker, it was more visceral, you know. And they all go, yeah, that's our favorite too, you know.
And you're like, thanks.
I mean, Return of the Jedi is a great movie, but for me, it's the Ewoks that kind of spoiled it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Made it cutesy.
Cute little fuzzy things. Oh, get out of here. You know, it's just like, but the Empire, it's just that denouement, you know, I am your father. No, fantastic, perfect stuff. You know,
That's an incredible film.
Yeah.
What are other films that you really love?
love or what generally you mean?
Yeah, you know, it's either
Whoa.
ones you're in or ones that you watch that
How
you're
long
like,
have you got? Well, there aren't. I haven't been in a lot of movies that I love, to be honest with you.
fair.
Okay, crikey. You sure you want me to go here?
Yeah, I mean anything. We love
All right, okay.
films, so
Well, I have a very kind of esoteric desire for movies. So I would say Hellraiser.
amazing.
I would say Psycho.
Also amazing.
I would say A Matter of Life and Death.
Ooh, I don't know that
Ooh.
one. Chris, do you?
See? Catching you out here, Lauren.
No, it's great. Tell me about it.
Well, there were two filmmakers in England in the 1940s called Powell and Pressburger.
Okay.
And they did a series of movies, The Red Shoes, Black
Shoes.
Narcissus. A Matter of Life and Death involves the wonderful David Niven, is an Air Force pilot whose plane crashes into the sea. But he's supposed to die, but he doesn't. He survives. And he is then contacted by an emissary from heaven who says, well, you shouldn't still be here. You have to be up there. Heaven is black and white, but Earth is technicolor. And this emissary from heaven says, but we are starved of technicolor up there.
Oh.
And anyway, it's the most romantic, wonderful, physical movie. No one can watch it and not fall in love with it. A Matter of Life and Death, okay? Then, okay, moving on, I would say Performance is my most favorite English movie ever.
Great.
You know that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Amazing
I've
film.
What about Chris? Do you know that?
I have not. I have not.
Oh. What have I got to do here?
I will find it and watch it by the end of this week. I will tell you that.
It's a very strange journey movie, okay? It was made in 1968. It stars Mick Jagger and James Fox. James Fox is a Cockney gangster, right? Is employed by a local firm to sort out businesses, get them sorted out. And he does something bad and he goes on the run and he ends up overhearing somebody in a cafe talking about there's a spare room in this house in Notting Hill Gate, which is owned by Mick Jagger, who's a retired pop star because he's lost his demon. He's lost the energy that made him creative and powerful. And he sees in James Fox's character the means to regenerate his own creative power. But it all goes terribly weird. But it's shot by Nicholas Roeg, who did Walkabout, Man Who Fell to Earth, Don't Look Now, all of which are my favorite movies of all time. So anyway, where was I? Favorite movies ever. Gosh. You see, I get very distracted by my own brain. I think, oh, now I'm on that track. Oh, damn. I'm not a great lover of, I don't only watch horror movies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I do think that Seven is a fantastic movie, and I can watch that forever. I do think that Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen is a brilliant movie. Captures my heart every time I watch it, you know. But there's so many. This is a really cruel
It's a mean question.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my shelves here, and it's like probably 2,000 things
Oh,
here,
wow.
you know. But I just love movies, you know. I made it a point of view to collect all of my most favorite movies ever on Blu-ray. So I grew up watching Ben-Hur and Spartacus and El Cid and Fall of the Roman Empire. You know, all of those are up there in Blu-ray. But then there came Gladiator. That's a fucking hacking. Well, you're Irish now. Sorry.
Well, you were in Father Ted.
It's a fucking great movie. Like, you know. No, not going there. But Gladiator has all of that sort of epic quality, but it has a deep emotional core, which I find triggers something very deeply emotional in me. A Clockwork Orange, absolutely. Don't Look Now.
Amazing.
You know, we're seeing a sort of, okay, no, Some Like It Hot.
Great movie.
So it's not all sort of mystical, deep horror kind of, oh, bit, you know, yeah, Some Like It Hot always just makes me feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh no, I could go on all night. This is silly.
Well, what have you seen recently? What is more a newer release that you've seen that you think kind of tracks back to like the films that you love? Has something come out in the last year or two that you were like, that is amazing?
Wow. Well, I would say never ever go and look at Gladiator 2.
Oh yeah.
I have not watched it yet.
I've got two friends who are members of BAFTA, which is the British Association for Film and Arts Theatre. And because they get invited to go and see and review movies all the time for their annual list. And one of them, Simon, said, okay, I've been invited to Gladiator 2. Do you want to come and see it? I thought, well, I love Gladiator 1. I mean, it's Ridley Scott. It's Russell Crowe. It's emotional. Oh my God. And it was utter bollocks, you know. And the funny thing is, with BAFTA screenings, everyone who's a guest has to stay until the very end of the credits.
Oh.
And Gladiator 2, you know, the credits are about half an hour themselves, you know. But at the very end of it, this guy stood up and went, rubbish! And kind of stormed out. And I thought, you know what? You're right, mate. It's horrible. It has all of the kind of Ridley Scott wonderful visual things, but none of the emotional quality of it. The last movie I saw that had some kind of emotional resonance was The Life of Chuck, which I've just seen because it's on Netflix now. I don't know that there's a lovely documentary I saw a couple of years ago called My Name is Alfred Hitchcock, which was a a very well put together documentary about Hitchcock, how he got to make Psycho. Excuse me. I don't know. It's not a lot of movies. Oh, I did like Deadpool.
Oh, the most recent one.
Well, 1 and 2. Yeah.
Okay.
I just there's something about Ryan Reynolds that just creases me up. I think he just does it for me. You see, I see so many movies that it's very difficult to kind of keep a track on current ones. I try to write them down, but I don't know. Things aren't quite as sort of gripping as they used to be.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Lauren, that your movie that we saw at Darkfest
Oh, darner.
was one of the excuse me, one of the strangest things I think I've ever seen.
Oh my God, can I quote you on that?
Yes, with pleasure.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
No, but Barbie and I, we were sitting where Patricia and Gabriel had vacated their seat, and it started, and we thought, it's a bit, what? Bloody hell! No, this is seriously odd, disturbing. Which is what a movie should. It triggers something in the same way. Okay, here's another one that got me. Substance.
Oh yeah.
That was, oh, hello, welcome back, Mr. Cronenberg. That kind of thing. But yours was just because it's so horribly minimal. There's no backstory to it, really. It's just, what the fuck is happening here? And it was great. It's the perfect length. It wasn't sort of, dragging it out, trying to make it. It was just, wow. And both Barbie and I came out and said, that's probably one of the strangest things I think we've ever seen.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
I can't tell you. I'm all blushy now.
I
guess, Chris, you've seen it, right?
I have. It was creepy. Like it was. I was amazed. I thought it was great. But it was like you said. It definitely. I felt things during the movie that you don't usually feel when you watch.
Yeah, but you thought I'm actually related to this girl.
It's definitely not the same person I grew up in a house with.
I was about to say.
Thank God.
I was about to say, it's just like, you were that little annoying girl.
Yeah. And that would sing Little Mermaid songs throughout the entire house, and now you're, yeah, exactly.
Too much info.
Yeah, it'll ruin all my street cred with the horror crowd.
Yeah, no, I think you need to cut a whole section of this out.
So we got to know. I know you're still doing stuff now. What things have you been doing lately? What are some things people can check out, like Son of Dracula online? What's going on in your life?
Not Son of Dracula. Son of Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Right? Shit. Sorry, that's so embarrassing.
It's okay. No, we're all related. Us undeads. We all meet up for a few beers and glasses of wine sometimes. Well, that was done, 15 years ago, but I'm trying to create a screenplay of a novelette that I wrote a couple of years ago called The Dream Diary of Tarquin Goldring. And it's about an aging actor who was very successful in Hollywood and then had to move back to England because it all went a bit tits up, and is now recounting his terrifying dreams to his best friend, and his best friend is recording them and then sort of typing them out and giving them to him. So I thought, well, it's on Amazon now. It's only 50 pages long, but I thought if I could write that as a screenplay, it'd be a very English movie, because it's two guys aging. One is an aging actor, one is an aging furniture salesman to rich Notting Hill girls, and they come together, and he's just explaining how terrified he is of his dreams because he can never go home. He always wants to go home in his dreams. And well, no spoilers, but it's a little challenge for me because I've never written a screenplay before, so I've got to kind of learn the software to cope with it. Apart from that, I just still love taking photographs of, oh, I don't know, somebody walking past. Sorry. Just London, just seeing bits that I haven't. I mean, I came out of Tottenham Court Road tube station a few months ago, and I thought, do you know what? I don't recognize any of this anymore. Yeah. It's all new, but it's fantastic that if you come up the escalator, there's a huge sort of area with a vast video screen showing sort of animated, wonderful movies and little stools for people to sit on, and they can sit there and watch these moving pictures, and I just thought, that's brilliant. Okay, so you've knocked down the whole, portion of old London, but it happens everywhere in every city. And I get really cross with people on these Facebook pages who say, oh, London's not what it was, Sadiq Khan has ruined it. Oh, shut up. It's called progress. Things change. There's still enough of old London here if you want to go and actually look for it, as there is in Paris or Barcelona or New York or any city, So I just love checking out stuff,
Love that.
Yeah, so I'm coping, What do you
I have a
up to?
question.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, go for it, Chris.
I do have a question. You brought something up, and we can cut this if it's not a good question or if it's too hard to answer. But you mentioned a very British film. What makes a British film over an American film in your point of view or your mind?
Ooh, are we talking about performance or?
You had just said like when the screenplay you're writing would be a very British film.
Oh, I
so like,
see.
do you see things that are more, like this is a standard British film versus an American film? Like, what makes the two different?
Well, because I am English, I tend to write as an English person with my sort of personal history at the back of my mind. I would say that for me, one of the most perfect British movies is Withnail and I. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
No?
It was like the litmus test for my Englishness. When I first moved here, I watched it. I fell asleep. I'm so sorry, Tim. And then I watched it after I'd lived here for 5 years, and I loved it. It's very British.
So, Chris, in that respect, Withnail and I is about two English actors living in a very squalid, rundown house in Camden in the late 1960s. The 60s have ended, so everything's gone a bit pear-shaped, But one of them is definitely going to be a successful actor. The other one is totally bitter, totally resentful of never getting a fucking job. And because there's something sort of very parochial about it. It could not be done in an American context. I mean, I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but there's something very sort of insular about England, obviously, because we're an island. But there's a British sense of injustice and resentment, but also a kind of resilience to it. I don't know. There's something. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but I'm sure there's a great many American movies that have equally as much resonance. I remember watching Easy Rider when I was 17 and being totally fucking blown away by it and thinking, wow. I obviously, as a 17-year-old suburban kid in Surrey, I can't relate to guys on choppers and dropping acid in graveyards and stuff. But I just thought, yeah, I get it. It's all about dislocation, about not being part of something that you're supposed to be part of. And because England is such a small territory, it's somehow magnified, And that's why Performance is such a great movie, because it's all about the London in the 60s of the craze, the gangs, that whole crime syndicate that controlled pretty much everything. But if you mix that with rock and roll, which performance does, then you've got a very strange kind of combination. There's something, it's not a politeness about British movies, but there's something that, I mean, we've done some movies that are very offensive, but I don't know. It's a very interesting question. I wish I had more time to answer it, actually.
No, Chris, you should totally watch With Nell and I, though. I think
I was just writing it down, that and performance. Yeah. So that's what I was scribbling over here.
Yeah, that and performance. I think you get a great sense of what England was like in the late 60s, because it was very parochial. I mean, I'm not a great nationalist. I mean,
oh no, did we lose him?
Oh no, we appear to have lost him. So we are back with Tim Dry, having lost the connection. Thank you so much for coming back to us, Tim. Okay. I know we're over an hour now, and we're taking up your time.
That's okay. I'm in a different room, by the way.
Yeah. But I just as a way to try and wrap up in a hopefully a nice and pleasant way, wanted to know if there's anywhere that people can go see your stuff, or anywhere online you want to send them, so that if they've been intrigued by this wonderful conversation, they can go, let's find Tim.
Well, if you look at you could type in Son of Nosferatu on YouTube, and you'll see the whole, it's only about 15 minutes long movie, but it's very funny. I've got my own website which has all my own videos and photographs on it. I'm so sorry about that. My Mac just went dead. It's like it was charged up fully. Anyway.
Well, I know that Covent Garden is not what it used to be, but I believe if you go to Covent Garden, there's probably an Apple store there now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an Apple store everywhere. Yeah.
It's true.
No, it's like Starbucks. Anyway, no. So where were we before we were so rudely interrupted?
No, I think you were just very kindly kind of talking about what you've been doing lately, and things that you had talked a little bit about the screenplay you were doing and
Oh, right. Okay. So yes, I just enjoy finding new movies to watch and enjoy, and new writings like Death Lanes and all that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I'm still hopefully waiting for Witches of the Sand, but it was great fun to do my little bit at your place in Chelsea the other week.
Yeah, it was great. I was saying to Chris that we get to see you do a bit more of like a London-y accent. It was very cool.
I was going to go full sort of John Thor in the Sweeney, right, shut it, you slag. No, I thought, no. So Chris, tell me about yourself. What do you do?
Wow. I live in the suburbs of Raleigh, but that sounds weird because Raleigh's not BC or New York. It's just it's the capital of North Carolina, but I work in IT. I'm a suburban person. Like I live in the suburbs. I have 2 dogs. I have a daughter. I have a son. They both live 12-hour drives away from me. One goes to college in Mississippi, and one is in high school and playing hockey in Massachusetts.
Wow.
So yeah, I get a chance. This is a good way for me and Lauren to stay connected and talk kind of on a regular basis when life gets kind of busy sometimes. And so like, this is a good way to carve out and be like, hey, we're going to talk for an hour and a half. And it gives me a chance to tell Tony every time, like, I'm really waiting for Witches of the Sands to come out. I'm in the queue of people that are waiting.
Yeah, we'll all be in another galaxy.
Yeah. But I did get to go last year. I traveled out around this time. Maybe it was like a couple weeks later, but I traveled out and went to Horror-on-Sea film festival, and so that was a lot of fun. And I was really hoping to do that this year, but I have another engagement in London in August, so I will be traveling there in the summertime.
What's the engagement?
My wedding.
Oh, that.
That
Oh, everyone's going to be there.
Thankfully it'll be nice and small, but it's going to be wonderful having them and the kids there, which will be really good.
Did you say it's going to be
hopefully
nice,
it won't be the
nice
same.
and small?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
So, Chris, you're a suburban boy like myself, then, really?
Yep. I have always wanted to move to the city, and now that I am older, and me and my wife is also, she's from more rural area, but she was only an hour from Washington D.C. So like she got all of the big city, probably closer to like what you grew up with,
right?
Being very close to a very large city. But now that we're older, I'm like, I don't want neighbors above me and beside me and below me. And I kind of like having so like it's changed. Now I'm like, I can afford to do it. I don't have my kids. I don't have to worry about the school districts. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go live. I just want to be around everything. I don't want to have to deal with everything.
Sure.
That makes sense. I'm gonna wind up our official recording, but we can obviously still talk socially afterwards. So I'm just gonna say thank you so much for being on the London Horror Movie Club. It's so fascinating, and we will have to have you back when your screenplay actually is a thing, so we can talk more about that.
Yes,
it sounds amazing.
Brilliant. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure to be a guest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, our listeners. This has been the London Horror Movie Club.
If you want to share your thoughts about this episode, please head to our Facebook or YouTube pages. We're grateful to Kukurbit, who made our music. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time for the London Horror Movie Club.